Did you know that if you find a $50 bill on the ground and it took you some time to pick it up, it'll be worth $25 due to inflation? Nah, we're just kidding. Hey guys and gals, welcome to another episode of Financial Ventures. We are so glad you liked our first video, and we hope you will learn more with today's episode of Basics of Inflation and how it is measured. If you like the content, be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more informative videos about finances. Remember, all you need is financial ventures in your life's adventure. As we all know, inflation is still an ongoing trend in our economy right now. It happens when there is a significant change in supply and demand. Prices go up, and your paychecks are not going as far as they used to be. Like many economic problems, inflation comes down to an imbalance between supply and demand. The bottom line is, there are many factors that can still affect inflation, ranging from geopolitical conflicts, political pandering, to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we keep on talking about how inflation happens and what causes it, but the golden question is, how does the government precisely measure inflation? How do they understand its magnitude? And how do they produce accurate rates and trends for people to grasp? Sit back and relax as we help you understand how to measure inflation and what other amazing things we can learn from it. Inflation can be measured in different ways, but in this video, we will be tackling the common method used, the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index. In simpler terms, it measures and analyzes the prices of the market basket of goods and services over time. Remember that the CPI method is widely used throughout the world. They may use varying sets of data per country, but the approach is very similar. Before we show you how CPI works, it is crucial that we understand what the market basket is first. Is it something that we can buy on Amazon or Etsy? Do we get to leave product reviews? Nope. Market basket is also known as a set of goods and services whose prices are used to determine the changes in prices every year. The goods and services in the market basket differ per country due to certain reasons. First is the inconsistent consumption habits of the people, and second, the varying weightings. Okay, we get it. Too technical. Let's try again. Market basket is basically the goods and services bought by the consumers. It is usually weighted, which means if there is an increase in the price of a major item, like housing and property, that will weigh more than the increase in the price of a minor item like a shoe. We have 8 major groups in the market basket, including housing, apparel, transportation, education and communication, other goods and services, recreation, medical care, and food and beverages. They are calculated in almost 93% of the US population. CPI is measured by understanding and determining the changes in the prices of the goods and services we mentioned. CPI simply gauges the change in the consumer's purchasing power and helps the government make informed economic decisions based on the collected data from the consumers, or simply put, calibrating their monetary policies. Although CPI is widely celebrated all over the world, there are some issues surrounding it. Some say that it is not the best method to measure inflation. So what are the famous arguments around CPI? There is quite a long list, but we get to summarize them into 5 points. First is that we have to understand that market basket prices were gauged in every typical household, and this is the problem. The typical household does not mirror all households in a certain country. Especially when the people purchase different goods and services, it may not equally apply to them all. Second, product substitution. As goods and services become more pricey, people tend to switch from one caterer to another, from one brand to another too. A good example is if beef gets too expensive, they buy lamb instead. Now CPI overstates on this one as well. Third, the consumption of new products was not usually gathered or taken into consideration. Market basket categories update, but not as frequently as the consumption of the product changes. Imagine being a fan of Coca-Cola, and then suddenly you're into Dr. Pepper now. We got you good, CPI, huh? Fourth, changes in quality. Some products increase their price as well as the quality of their goods. So people purchase the improved products they offer and use it for a long time rather than repeatedly purchasing a cheaper one but with compromised quality. And lastly, outlet substitution. People get smarter with their spending, so a lot of them change from buying groceries in supermarkets to directly purchasing from suppliers. It's cheaper for them. Again, this is an oversight in CPI as they take time before catching up with the market basket consumption trend. Okay, so this gets a bit overwhelming, doesn't it? We got you. CPI and inflation rate calculations can be long drawn out if we were to be honest. So let us introduce you to FRED. FRED is Federal Reserve Economic Data, simply known as an online database consisting of hundreds of thousands of economic data time series from scores of national, international, public, and private sources. FRED allows us to change units to calculate and get more intimate and comprehensive CPI and inflation results over our desired period of time. FRED can also show all significant economic indicators, such as employment statistics, interest rates, bond prices, and others. It is by far the most important quantitative database in the US economy. One can get logical and factual answers by simply navigating through FRED. An example is that through editing the data series, once units set were nominal wages, the result will show that since the recession, wages have not kept up with the inflation. In our previous video, Hungary at the end of 1945 and July 1946 recorded the highest inflation ever with a whopping 98%. But another fact, Venezuela holds the highest inflation rate as of January 2022 with 1,198%, followed by Sudan with 340%. The highest price increase in the CPI over the past years includes housing, energy, and food. All we can do right now is make the most out of what we can and be smarter in not just measuring the inflation rate, but in how we handle our day-to-day finances. To wrap everything up, governments can measure inflation through CPI or Consumer Price Index. CPI is highly based on the market basket of goods and services, and the final output can then be generated through FRED or Federal Reserve Economic Data. That's it. Come to think of it, we learned a lot about how the government measures inflation, yet they are all straightforward, and we get to encounter them even with the simplest decision-making in our everyday lives. Remember, it is okay to ask questions and tips to be more informed, so feel free to comment down your thoughts below and suggest what else you want us to talk about. We hope to see you at the next one, and remember, it's better with financial ventures in your life's adventure. Be safe and make smart financial choices.